Hold up.
Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdette's Newsstand, and I don't cover Marvel often. And when I do, it's either for something really good, like I've been loving the current Moon Knight, or for something really bad. And in this case, it's the latter. We're going to talk about the X-Men Green. And the X-Men Green, if you are unfamiliar with it, I would not be surprised. But it is on the Marvel Unlimited app. It is one of the Infinity comics, which are basically their version of a webtoon. And the majority of them are not bad. From what I have read, they have the Land Shark and they have some Gwenpool, and some of them are really good. Some of them are really bad. There was a Captain America one earlier this year that was absolutely terrible. It censored itself in the weirdest way possible, but this one takes the cake. This comic might actually be one of the worst I have ever read, and that is because we are going to talk about a character named Nature Girl. Now, Nature Girl is a newer character. She has been around since 2014. She has over 100 appearances, right? So, with that being said, I still didn't really know who she was. Most of you guys know I absolutely loved the X-Men. I dipped out after House of M because everything I was picking up shortly after that was not really that good. So I haven't read a whole lot of X-Men lately. This is a newer character. Also, Curse was only created 2 years ago with like a handful of appearances. So these are the main two characters in this comic book. So if you're unfamiliar with them, I get it. These books, as of late, haven't been something, in my opinion, to write home about. You guys, your mileage may vary, but as an X-Men fan, a diehard X-Men fan in the 90s and early 2000s, I stopped reading it because I loved it. And I know that doesn't make sense, but because I was such a huge fan of the X-Men, I didn't want to taint with everything that especially in the early 2010s, but I didn't want to taint that love I had previously. I didn't want to get angry about it, right? I didn't want to stop loving these characters that I grew up with. We would trade comic books on the playground, and it was always X-Men. Me and my friend Grace would always play X-Men, and I was always Rogue. Terrible Southern accent, but I digress. Let's talk a little bit about this. Now, this is issues 5 through 12 is what we're going to talk about. And basically, we see Nature Girl. She is on Krakoa. She has something wash up on the island, and she realizes that it's a plastic bag, but lodged inside a sea turtle's throat. And she is angry. You wouldn't like her when she's angry. Okay, bad joke. She realizes it is this Owen's grocery store, right? So she goes to Owen's grocery store, and she asks for the manager. The manager's really rude, but I mean, a little understandable. She literally takes the announcer thing, right? And yells across it, like, and then immediately stabs him in the neck. Now, I want you to keep in mind, this is a hero. This whole video, we are going to be talking about heroes within X-Men, okay? Yes, a hero. So we see the blood dripping off her. She, eventually the police come back around. She steals their dog, and she heads out. Wolverine is sent after her. She has him basically disemboweled by a bear, and she meets up with Curse. Now, they head off to this, I guess you would call it a protest, and we see, a lot of people are upset about the pipeline, which nobody seems to understand. There's no nuance in this comic whatsoever. Start off with that. But the other big thing here is nobody seems to realize that sometimes these people working for these companies are just doing it for a paycheck. I know there are important things out there, and I am not a climate change denier at all. But people have to live. People have to feed their families. And that doesn't give you a right to brutally murder them because you don't agree with the job that they so happen to be in. And that is exactly what Nature Girl does. She does it to multiple people, even sending bees upon a group of men that are working there, with one man yelling he's allergic. Now, of course, enough bees will kill you no matter what, but we even see her at one point take her horn and slice a man's throat, and then steal lunch from them, because why not, I guess? So the protesters send them off, and they need to go look for the place where the pipeline ends, right? The plant. And they do so, but we see this kind of nightmare scenario where she is not upset at all that she killed it. You had a chance during this to show a little humanity within Nature Girl, right? A character that understands animals at their basic, most microscopic level, and then understands their feelings, how they operate, what they see, what they hear, what they could say if they could talk, would understand the good in humanity, because she would come across situations where, yeah, that's terrible that turtle died, but she would also come across the rescues, the people fostering animals. She would also understand that there are peoples that our lives are devoted to saving whales or saving dolphins, or different animal shelters that have become, like my local animal shelter is now a no-kill shelter, because they don't want to put any animal through that. So they do a lot with fostering, and they're able to get these animals home. She would have come across all of those. She would come across all of those good stories also, which could then show that she needed to have that in her life and get some hope back for humanity. Well, I digress. Her and Curse head off and basically go against this power plant that has a whole bunch of just terrible white dudes in the front. Everybody that is terrible is definitely, I don't want to be that person, but yeah, every single one of them are white. Every single one. There is some diversity when it comes to the protesters and such, but not when it comes to the men that are evil. All right. No evil female except for Black Mamba, who we see a little bit later. And she really is just getting paid by evil oil. So she doesn't want to kill kids. It's supposed to be a joke, but it's really quite weird, because Nature Girl can forgive her for taking Big Oil's money, but she can't forgive somebody that just works at a grocery store or just works at a pipeline. Do you see the hypocrisy in that even a little bit? Do you not realize the message you're sending is, if you don't agree with my politics, and I feel passionately enough about whatever said politic is, then I have the right to murder you brutally sometimes. Okay. All right. Well, moving on. We basically see this whole place. We see Sauron come in completely out of character for Sauron, and we see them blow up this power plant. In doing so, we see them kill tens of people and see their skeletons on fire. And Curse thinks it's funny, because normally kids, 13 to 16 years old, maybe even a little bit younger, normally they laugh at murder. What? We see her at one point, Nature Girl, at one point, more upset that she accidentally killed a fly or a bee, I'm not sure which one it is, than when she murdered a man who could have a wife, who could be a father, who is somebody's son, who is somebody's brother. But that fly, that bee, that means more to her. Do you not realize the extent of what message you are conveying here? Do you not realize this kind of storytelling leads to radicalism? Let me play your game for a second, okay? There was a lot lately, well, not that long ago, when it comes to Dave Chappelle and his jokes being transphobic. Now, I talked about this, and I did actually speak through email to a trans person, and they explained a little bit more of the situation and kind of the background behind it. I still think jokes are meant to be funny, but his last stand-up special was more like spoken word. I don't know. Regardless, a lot of people were upset because basically they thought jokes and that type of special could cause harm to the trans community. Do you not realize your storytelling using that same logic could cause harm to people who work these type of jobs? Or let me push it a step further. Do you not care? Because you want other people to care. You want other people to be mindful of the message they are conveying. But the message that a huge conglomerate like Marvel Comics and Gerry Duggan are putting out there is, if you don't like my politics, I have the right to murder you. As long as I'm passionate. Now, I could be going a little bit overboard here, and we could look, and maybe when it continues, we will see this story kind of take a little bit of a different turn. It'll be a cautionary tale. That could come out. That's very possible. But by the time we get to the end and on back on Krakoa, we actually see this whole thing with she's guilty. She's found guilty. Krakoa doesn't think she's guilty, or she doesn't think it was harmful, so to speak. She is paroled. Her friend helps her escape. Not only that, but she gets a new staff, pats on the back, and gets to leave Krakoa and never return, and that's it. That's it. So essentially, she got away with murdering multiple people. And then had zero consequences for her action. None. Actually, she, besides not being able to come back to Krakoa or use the portals and stuff like that, she actually got an upgrade, right? She evolved. Her hair is now gone. And she evolved into a superior being. And she actually is getting this staff, right? So she's able to evolve. So now where are we going with this? Think about what this story does to this character, because all of what I have told you is canonical to the 616 Marvel Universe, right? The only way to go ahead with this story is to transform her and make her a villain. There's no more hero in this character. Now, there are characters at Xmen that have murdered before, that have killed before. When it comes to characters like Wolverine, it is not innocent people. It is usually the bad guys or their lackeys, people coming at him, right? Or, there was some sort of Hydra mind warp, or we've seen all different sorts of excuses. What's your excuse going to be? Because if you're going to go the mind washing way, then how are you going to excuse everybody on the island basically saying that they feel bad, that she's in trouble? Everybody basically being an apologist for her situation. Every single person was upset that she was getting in trouble. Do you not realize, again, Marvel, what type of message you're conveying? If you're going to say that jokes are harmful, so is this: you cannot have it one way and not the other. And then if that's the case, if this is harmful, there's a lot more to talk about here. There's a lot more. That's a whole nother video in itself. So I think this is probably, I wouldn't say the worst comic I've ever read. There's some pretty bad ones out there. It's definitely worst of the year. Maybe the decade, depending on where this goes. I don't know how you would make this a cautionary tale. I don't know how you would spin this that you can ever make Nature Girl redemptive again. Maybe you can. It would take some time and a good writer. And I do think Gerry Duggan is a good writer. I really do. He's got a lot of solid work behind him that I enjoy. So I'm not sure where this came out of. And I'm not sure why we're playing this game. But whatever it is, at the very end it says X-Men Green will return. And her saying, let's begin. So what kind of story are you beginning with Curse, Nature Girl, and the puppy that she stole? How can you go on from here? Oh boy, how disappointing. How sad. How messed up do you have to be to look at this book and think that this is okay? I don't know. Let me know, of course, what you guys think. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
I'm not just a